3, 2, 1. All right, and we're live. Welcome to the SugaShep Show. Glad y'all are here with us today. We got another infamous character for y'all. Mr. Sugar, or just Show. He's the show part of the SugaShep Show. We're missing we got the SugaShep. We're missing Stu, right? He just goes just straight Stu.
Yeah.
And we're missing
Kind of a big deal.
We're missing one of the Sugar Mamas, but you know, there's always a time and a place for everything. We were just in the middle of a conversation about Rocky Patel. Thank you for sponsoring me with this ashtray, y'all. Appreciate you. It was like $35 or something, but you can pick them up on Amazon.
Yeah,
He was a guy that
I'm not all
started-
that savvy as far as the cigars go, and I guess, you know, I had asked the question, you know, as far as like just looking at this ashtray, I was like, who's Rocky Patel? Like, why is he a big deal?
So what I heard about Rocky Patel was he was a fellow who started out in the industry making cigars. Kind of, he didn't have a whole lot of like funding backing. He didn't grow his tobacco the same as say like Cohiba or some of these other bigger brands. And so a lot of the cigar connoisseurs didn't really like his product. And then here lately, it's been getting a lot better. So more and more shops are selling them. He's kind of picked up a better reputation. But I think they're good cigars. Good quality stuff. And inexpensive at the same time.
What are you smoking right now?
This is a little off-brand, one of those in the $25 discount bins. Kind of nameless, you know, hand-rolled. But I got a Cohiba I'll fire up here later.
Okay. I've got this Java Mint cigar. I had an old directional driller that I used to work with that kind of turned me on to these. This is all he would smoke now. I used to buy them by the box.
Yeah, they're kind of a more sweet tasting, kind
It's
of like
nice,
a dessert cigar.
Real nice. Yeah, it's smooth. And like I said, I don't know a ton. Normally I'll smoke Monte Cristos or like a Macanudo or something like that. But I like these just as much, if not more. You know?
I think with
it's just
age,
something a little different, you know?
as we get older, you know, you start having that more appreciation for the better flavored cigars. Than so like the.
Well, I'm
just,
sure
I want to just smoke
like
one.
the more that you smoke them too, right? Like you can have an appreciation for the differences and probably pick up on more of those.
Yeah.
I'm just not there. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, we're kind of new to the cigar game. In fact, any of y'all cigar promoters out there needing a little advertising, drop me a link, SugaShep69 at gmail.com.
Don't say that because now that might have to be what it is. Like,
I have that email
oh,
already.
are you serious?
Yeah, that's my email. That's my podcast email. I mean, I got the personal, and that's like
It could
the
have
work
been
email.
anything. It could have been anything, but that's what it is. folks.
SugaShep69 at gmail.com.
It's a finite thing now.
We're going to make an
It's done.
Instagram here soon and a Facebook. YouTube channel's coming up at you
Oh, my
live
gosh.
soon. We'll be dropping a lot of content here in the next couple months. We'll be talking about all kinds of things.
That's right. Yeah.
So let's, you know, as we always do, like we just kind of started off with like anything you feel like talking about, man.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you tell me what happened in this? Like there was supposed to be a stream that took place and occurred prior to this one.
Well,
What
we had
happened
some
to that
audio.
content? We
We had little audio difficulties. We had some problems getting the sound synced with the video. I got a couple of people working on that on the sidelines,
Okay.
and reached out to a few others that you know. One person just specializes in the video content, the other sound. Now it's a matter of getting them to collab.
Okay.
We'll be making a little intro theme for y'all, you know, instead of having to push these buttons.
Right. Did y'all get any usable content out of the last?
I mean, instead of this little generic sound like this, we'll actually have a little more of a tempo. Oh, the SugaShep Show. And I'll get somebody with a real deep voice like. Hit it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Your mic should be
What?
Never
Oh,
mind. Does it sound different?
yeah, it sounds way different. I like it.
Talk now. Oh yeah. SugaShep.
Perfect. And that's a wrap. Anyways, we'll be coming up with a little more original stuff than kind of these more generic sounds and things. All of that can be edited on our Rodecaster. But the content that we tried to make, you know, half of it was we were talking without the sound being recorded. And the other half was like the cameras weren't going, but the sound was. So maybe we can make something out of that.
I know people that sometimes read just to read. So, sound like you guys were just talking to talk.
You know, it was one of
recorded.
those like great stuff, but we didn't get it on the film, and on the sound just wasn't there. But man, it was some good stuff. I'm hoping we can pull.
Sounds like it fell apart
I'm
quick.
hoping we can make a, you know, shine the old, as they say, the diamond in the rough, or something like that. Take a piece of coal and turn it into a gem.
It's funny you say that. I was just listening to a song about that the other day, but the guy's talking about how he's still coal. He's been put under all of this pressure, and he's like, what the hell? Like, I'm still coal.
I think a lot of people are under pressure these days, you know, with everything
It's easy to feel
changing
that
and
way.
shifts happening.
Yeah.
But the main thing is, you know, if we can bring add a little sweetener to your life, a little sugar and some of that bitterness, kind of clear up some of these more foggy days, I think that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah.
Bring a little comedy aspect to it. Just a hair, just a touch.
Something authentic, though. Like,
Yeah, something original.
yeah.
But, you know, as far as like talking about stuff, we got all kinds of conspiracies we can get in on. I mean, I got a whole list. But that's one of those things, you know, I need to get this content out there and see what the people want to hear, you know?
Oh, it's like, this isn't going to be an evolving channel, hopefully. You know, something that, you're right, like, we get feedback from, and then, look, you know, I'm sure, like, yes, there's going to be times we're talking about conspiracy theories, we're going to be talking about current events, and sometimes maybe just what comes to mind, you know, and but that's the great thing about it, you know, is like, you know, starting it out and stuff like that, we get to try a lot of new things, and we get to see kind of what, like I said, what comes back to us, you know.
It'll be fun to watch the channel grow into something.
Exactly, yeah, and see what it becomes. I think it'll take a little bit of time to kind of see, but at this point, you know, we get to we can kind of make it our own. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I feel like we've got a lot of freedom right now at this point. So
Yeah, we
to
do,
that.
definitely that.
Yeah.
Being free is a very nice thing. Curtis, shout out to America for that freedom. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't have done it without
Shout
you.
out to those veterans, man.
Shout out to the vets for sure, 100%. Guys that are out there right now still fighting for the freedom. You know, I hope one day I've got some militant friends that I'd like to get on here to talk about some of their experiences. Of course, a lot of them are still active duty, so it's kind of hard to time management around them. But here soon, we're going to be releasing all kinds of stuff.
That'll be good. Yeah, it'll be nice to have some guests out. You know, we've got guys that aren't active as well. I'm sure they'd be willing to come on, talk about some things. I think, you know, of course, we're going to have to leave that floor open to what they're willing to talk about and
Right.
discuss, and kind of, you know, and try not to steer that too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we can't be, you know,
Be
exposing any
respectful
secrets
well,
and
respectful
things.
at the same time of those experiences and the events and things and whatever transgressed. You know, I think several of those guys, whether they want to admit it publicly or not, are probably struggling with some form of PTSD.
Oh, 100%. That's a big deal
And
right
I mean,
now.
and I'm not trying to, you know, I imagine that regardless of your MOD or, you know, what your job was, basically, and what part you had to play or role, you know, that if you did a tour, or, you know, to some degree you were affected.
Oh,
You know what I
100%.
mean? So I was like, we'll tread lightly there and leave that open and kind of see where where they take it and what they want to talk about and stuff like that. But it'd
Yeah.
be good. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
I mean, I think it's one of those that, you know, some of these people just need a little laughter in their life. I think laughter kind of brightens up moods, even if it's just for a minute, you know, even if it's just for like a 30-minute segment or something.
Yeah. That's good. We'll keep it light, Dutch.
Yeah, light touch. We talk a little bit about the war, kind of talk about what it's like coming out of that situation.
I think those would be interesting perspectives, actually, especially given current events and it being an election year. It'd be
That
good.
too.
Yeah. It'd be
We're going to
good.
try and keep it political and religious free. I mean, we're open to like any kind of, if people want to believe in the flying spaghetti monster, hey man, who are we to judge,
Well, I'm a Christian. I don't know if I keep my religion out of it. It helps shape, a lot of the morals, the views, and
I think that's
know.
part of the old Freedom of Speech Act, It's one of those you're allowed to kind of express how you personally feel.
I'm not opposed to having anybody come on that wants to think differently or anything like that. But I was like, it can't change or shape, kind of what I believe personally.
Absolutely.
You're
solid in your foundation of faith.
for sure. And I'm not a perfect person by any means. Like I said, I want this to remain open. Like we don't want to, we're not going to come in and judge anybody out the gate. We accept, everybody in all forms and things like that.
That's right. At the end of the day, we're all just people. We're all just human beings.
And everybody wants to be loved. You know what I mean? I get
yeah,
that.
that's a big topic. So I've got this thing we're going to try and do. I don't know if there's a book out there, but it's going to be called The Levels of Love.
Yeah.
Levels or the layers of love, something like that.
Well, yeah, we wanted to talk about, there's different forms of love, I'm sure. There's different types of love, how you could love differently. And then,
it's kind of more of like you got your generic, the word love, and then you've got romantic love, love for your parents, love for your children, love for human beings. But like to break those down, like, I'm not real sure I even really know what love is.
Well, I mean, I could make the argument that unless you know Christ, you probably don't, to some degree, and then because I think that's where it comes from, and we probably don't have a good sense of love, which is why I think relationships and things like that ultimately, they fail, and they fall apart, and we're doing it. We're taking our, I think that we involve ourselves, and then we take what we want love to be or what we want it to mean to us and misconstrue a lot of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we let the world tell us what that should look like and what it should be.
Right, that standard of it.
Yeah, and then, like I said, we're at a day and age right now where I mean, you have the majority of men, I don't even think, they seem like they're, they don't see, I guess, any benefit to commitment or relationships or marriage,
Yeah, I don't
like
think that value of marriage holds the same merit as back in
so
like
it'd be an interesting conversation because you're going to get some different perspectives and you're probably going to get to dive into that. I think I'll learn a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think what's scary is I might learn a lot about myself. And
a little self-reflection going on, like
might not be a
looking
good
into the
thing.
mirror.
You know what I mean? I've made some mistakes and I haven't got it right yet. So like, you never know.
It's like trial and error,
Yeah. I was like, it'd be wrong to say that every girl I dated like, I'm just going to put this all on them. Like, this was all their fault. Like,
There's
I
always,
was there too. I was like I said, I have, issues. I'm sure that, I have bad habits or whatever. Like, it's not all them, right? So
I've heard it once put, there's always three sides to the story, person A, person B, and then what really happened.
that's why we don't get married, because she'd tell you there's what your side of it, and then there's the truth or the right side of it, and that's her side.
Right, yeah. The last words are, the man says is yes, ma'am, something like that. So, I mean, it's one of those things, and then you got all kinds of different loves and same sex, love type deal, and people kind of transitioning from, what we would say is like the generic, makeup of DNA, trying to alter that a little bit. I mean, I don't think it's right to say it's unfair for somebody to like, they're not right the way they love somebody. Like I'm not opposed to like, just put it out there, like the homosexuality community. I've got several good friends that are, in that department, and it's like, get along great. But the biggest thing there
You
is
don't
we
have
got
to
this
agree
respect.
with their life choices to love somebody,
They'll respect
to
that
care about somebody.
I'm straight as I guess that's the correct term, whereas they're not. But we have that mutual respect for each other, and it never really gets crossed.
Right.
And if it ever does, it's just like, we just didn't see eye to eye or agree. So
Right.
it could be the same kind of disagreements you'd have about
And
anything.
you don't have to agree.
like a flat earther versus a rounder.
The same respect that you would have for the decisions that they're choosing to make, I guess, that should work both ways. You know what I mean? They should respect the fact that you decided not to be a homosexual.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you believe in a man and woman, so that should go it's a two-way street, right?
I would think
I feel
so.
like you can't really say that, you love and care about that person and then reject them completely as a human being. You know
Because
what
of
I mean?
a-
But
of
you
a-
don't have to accept or embrace the same ideal, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. You can still love the
So-
individuals, like love the sinner, hate the sin type thing. But again, it's one of those like preferences at this point.
Right.
You got
Yeah.
people
And
that
you
are
know-
making mistakes right now, every second of the day, and it's not. Who are we to decide like that's a mistake when it might not be for that person? If they're jumping into something that makes them happy and it works out, more power to them. But off that subject, we'll kind of circle back around that. Let's jump right into the conspiracy iceberg.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What do you got
I've
for
got a
us?
really good one tonight.
What is it?
So we've touched on a little bit. We were kind of going on this drug
Gremlins
topic.
are real. No, I'm just
Who's real?
gremlins.
Gremlins. And speaking of gremlins, I've heard a
Can't ever
story.
find my car key. I will set something down and it's gone.
Yeah.
It's just disappeared.
In I think it's
Tell
a
you how many socks
is
I
it
got.
Ireland or Scotland maybe? They believe in like these little tiny creatures. They leave gifts out for them because if not, they'll just come around and like take one of your socks.
Dude, I saw that on Eurovision. Is that a thing?
Yeah, they'll come steal like one thing. Like you got a pair of shoes, they'll just take one.
The elves or something like
The
that.
elves.
Yeah.
They're like elves. That's
You
right.
got to give them whiskey and like
You got to
sandwiches.
leave them little trinkets and things. And then
Oh,
if you go and try and take those things, they get real upset about that. Like little bells and little shiny things,
I saw what they did. Yeah.
I mean, if they don't, they'll just
Stab
they'll
you
come
right
in
in the
and
back.
they'll take one battery out of the remote. Yeah. They'll come in and move things around just to
Right.
kind of
So it may not be fatal, but it will be frustrating.
very frustrating. It's going to be a big inconvenience. Right. It's going to make it to where
A life of big inconveniences.
yeah, these little elves, they get real, temperamental if there's like, hey, man, we're out here doing elf stuff. I don't think it's all about in trees baking cookies. I think it's more like, I really don't know what they're up. Maybe they're sinister.
Real
I
sick
don't know.
shit. They're hiding the remote and stuff.
They got like a whole, whoever finds that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is going to have, a fortune of batteries, left socks,
Right.
right side, right shoelaces. Maybe a cooking spatula's in there, something that you really need that you're like, well, where the heck?
Oh, that egg beater. You can't ever find that.
Yeah,
thing.
something like,
Yeah.
where's my strainer at, Damn
yeah.
elves.
You can't ever find that either. That's true.
But the other conspiracy I've been hearing about was this topic on, we were discussing these drugs. And so there's this, I don't know how much I can even talk about this stuff. Your body naturally produces it. And it's something you have all the time.
Before we start that, let me ask you something. It just popped into my head.
Yeah.
I watched a reel or something the other day. Do you believe that the more sex you have reduces the amount of dopamine that you produce?
I've heard from several people that are very sexually active. They think it increases that. It makes you more.
Well, so supposedly that release would happen when you reach climax, I believe, right?
Right, fruition, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fruit
yeah,
vision?
like you get to the very, you hit that point.
Well, yeah, you reach your climax or whatever, and I guess so. Your body's releasing dopamine. You feel good, and it's like all of this, ecstasy for a minute.
Dopamine,
if you
and
will.
there's another chemical that's mixed in there with
Something
it.
like that, right? But anyway, so you believe that increasing probably the amount of sex that you're having a lot of sex, that your body's producing less of that.
So
That's interesting.
if my theory on it, and it's all speculation, I think if you or you're doing that all the time, it's going to take longer for that stuff to
Probably a lot that goes into it. I mean, if you have a really high testosterone level or something
Right.
like that. When I was younger, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of standards in place for what I probably would and would not
Yeah.
have slept with at the time.
Yeah, I mean, you could have been
That's a
just
sad
looking at
thing
something.
to
and-
admit, but that's probably the truth of it. A young man, really high testosterone, he's worried about getting it in, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's his like the main driving factor. Okay, but I feel like as you get older, that tends to drop off. And
I mean, so like I did it, everybody kind of goes through like what they say, the no nut November stage. Like I kind of decided at one point in my life, I'm just going to get to that point of release and then not do it, like get everything working, get the blood flowing, but then just, wait to deliver the goods, just kind of back off, if I'm in the shower, turn the thing all the way cold right quick and kind of shock yourself. Yeah, just kind of like all this build up for
just
nothing.
torture yourself. Yeah,
Just to see what would happen,
shit. I think
like a
that's,
study.
like edging or something. I think is what
I
they
mean, I'm
call that.
sure that there's a definition for that,
It's
but I just thought, let's see what happens.
I think the whole point is that you eventually get to climax, but that part of it. But
That and eating, like they say, Kellogg's
like,
kind of
no,
prevents
you're
you from wanting to they say that whole entire cereal was made to prevent masturbation. So like if we're on that subject, it's basically like you get to that point where you're ready to release, you're like self-pleasuring, but then you just don't.
And then you're like, I'm gonna have some more cereal.
Yeah, I'm gonna go like think about Kellogg's or you can just kind of trick the mind in that moment.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
That sounds
it's
awful.
It's like you got to
The
work
amount
at
of
it.
discipline I think that would be required.
It
to
is.
do
It
that
is.
actually
It's very much
probably
discipline.
something we should acknowledge. I was like, that's kind of a big deal.
But at the same time, it's a choice. Like I had a
it's
conversation
definitely a choice.
with a lady not too long ago about, I'm one of those that it's like if we're in the middle of getting it on, I'm more concerned about her feeling the pleasure and getting satisfied more so than me dumping a big old load on her or something. You know what I'm saying?
That makes for good lovers. Yeah.
But then at the same time, this particular lady was like, that's something. She was like, I feel a little bit self-conscious if a guy's not gonna, climax because maybe.
Oh, they do, dude. Like a lot of them do. They
Yeah,
get
like
real
she's
stuff.
like, maybe I'm not good enough at this,
Yeah,
or
they
I'm
start
not doing
thinking all
something
these,
right.
Dude, they start thinking all sorts of stuff.
And I'm like, well, maybe the guy's just like in his own head, like I'm gonna be in control of that.
But that's when it gets real interesting. Like it gets good because you both care about the other one, right? So you both care about the wants or desires or needs of each other. And so then you can start communicating. Okay, so then you get to talk about, hey, what you like, what you don't like,
Yeah.
And once you start doing that makes them for great sex. Like it really does.
Maybe so, you
Talk in the bedroom. Yes.
have the
definitely.
discussions prior.
Yeah. Oh no, not. I mean, you do it during. I mean, it's once you get comfortable and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, because I'll talk your ear off. I'm one of those that if we're in the middle of doing stuff, like I can sit there and start like, hey, we're doing this stuff live. Like, it's like I'm back in the show all of a sudden. So I have to kind of watch. I have to kind of keep business separate from pleasure. You know what I'm saying?
okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, it might get a little off topic real quick. Hey, let me tell you about this conspiracy theory, and we're over there getting it on. And hey, I don't want to hear about that right now. Like, let's just enjoy this right now while this is happening. No, I heard this thing about raincanos and all this stuff.
Yeah.
We got volcanoes. There's a thing called a raincano. Shout out to the girl that told me about that.
Shut your mouth. Like we're gonna have an eruption.
It's fixing to make it rain. You know what I'm saying? Like a different kind of rain.
That's funny.
But you know, on all that kind of stuff.
I didn't mean to take us off track there.
No,
but
I think that's a fair question, and I wish
it's interesting, right? We should look into that.
I think if we have eventually some comment section available, you know, you might get a more intellectual, maybe someone that studied that, to leave like, here's the research, you know, about what we've discovered
We're
with
gonna
those
take
types of
take
things.
a short break here, and then we'll come back and we'll get back on that topic. We'll talk about
Yeah,
that
we could
conspiracy
take
theory.
5. All right.
Take a short break. We'll come back. We'll talk about that.
Sounds
conspiracy
good.
theory.
Absolutely. What happened?